Today, we're going to talk about the style of homes we're going to do on the property. So, for the last year or so, we've talked back and forth about the different architectural styles that we could use on this property, and we've really struggled. We've been all over the map, haven't we?
Yes, both have.
Talked about log structures, talked about A-frames, we've talked about tropical style structures, we've talked about farmhouse, which is a big trend right now, and we've talked about modern or contemporary structures that I would call like mountain modern. But what we've settled on is what we're going to show you today. So let's go for a walk and we'll talk about it on the way.
Ready?
Yeah. Let's go, Tuck. As we're walking away, let's take a quick look at our family cabin. This one was built back in the 1930s. My great-grandfather and his two boys built this, did all of the work except for the chimneys. And as you can see, its exterior is entirely out of shingle siding. The roof at the time was also shingle siding, and they added this bedroom on the left on in the early 40s. So what we've decided is to keep every cabin different. So back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and even the 60s, family time was precious to people, and they spent a lot of time either outdoors or indoors in the cool mountains like we have here. And they played board games. There was no TV, there was no internet, and the structures were fairly small, and every single one of them was different from the one next door. So let's check this one out and look at some of the unique characteristics of one of our friends' old cabins. Probably built in the original cabin that you can see on the right. It's probably built, oh, I don't know, maybe early century, last century, so 120 years ago. And then the rest of the cabin was probably built in the 40s. That's my guess based on my very poor memory. So let's check it out. So what we'll do is try to talk about what makes each one of these houses different. So I'll just ask you, when you're looking at it, cute little cabin. Nobody uses burgundy to trim houses anymore. That was pretty common in the 30s and 40s. In Elkmont, here in Emmert's Cove, and in some other parts of the county, where it was more of a resort feel, or weekends, or maybe even the family would spend their entire summer in a house. But the first thing I noticed on this house is the burgundy, of course, the stone over there. The textures make these houses. Board and batten here in the middle, and then log here on the right. So often it was not uncommon for these houses to be kind of put together with, we call it reclaimed now, or repurposed. But they'd collect from other places and then put it all together. Cute little house, isn't it? This house has been nicknamed Wood Smoke. As you can see here on the corner, true logs were pretty common in the 20s, probably into the 30s, and then it kind of tapered off. And of course, what we see most of the time here in the Smokies that we will be avoiding are log veneer homes. But you can see different sizes, and they're not where the log is rounded on top, and the next log that lays on top is not to fit that log. This one is mostly log, but what's interesting about this one is that this is the main living space, but in order for them to use the bathroom, once they put in indoor plumbing, they have to come outside down these stairs to the left here and around the side of the house, and that's also where they keep the washing machine. Really sweet family. They're hoping to keep it in their family forever, and the view on the backside is spectacular. But what a cute, quaint place. Nice true logs. And a cabin with a whole lot of personality. These days you never see a cabin with white trim, and don't very often see forest green. They've got forest green on the shingles here and brown on the shingles up there. And of course, they loved rocks so much, their chimney and their fireplace inside is shaped by perfectly rounded rocks that are all almost exactly the same size. How's that view, Amanda?
It's beautiful. Not too often do you get the mountain view and can hear the river and see the river at the same time. So
yeah, I don't know if you can hear it on here, but rapids are down here below us. That's our favorite swimming hole here by the cabin, called the Corner Hole, and that's Mount LeConte in the distance there. Nothing quite like a home like this. This home's always been known as the Marshall Cabin, and what a quaint little place. Another true log structure, but complemented by lots of shake shingles. As you look at it, you can see some special features. Forest green trim, very dark wood shingles, and plenty of personality. And little poochies inside barking. The Marshall Cabin was built shortly after our own, and as you can see, they use the same round logs for a portion of it. Painted shingle siding, forest green trim, and river rock, since it is on the river right back here. And then when this family that renovated it in recent years decided to add on, they carried the same idea to that addition. Very well done, and expect it will be here a long time. Always nicknamed Kiki's first owner, and simple cabin, nothing fancy on the front, but with a really nice screened-in porch and trimmed in lap siding. Textures make it all. What you thinking, Tucker? You doing all right? He's going down to the river. The stone, the big picture window, the green and then tan trim all make this a cute little place. And I think it's worth noting that each of our houses will be spaced apart at least this distance that you're seeing here. The Marshall's next door is approximately 100 or 120 feet away, and that's what we're going for. So, still in Emmert's Cove, just another part of the cove. These three cabins I think were probably built in the 20s, maybe the 30s, but I suspect either Miss Smith's cabin that we just checked out, or these were built first, and the same builder did all of them. When I inspected the notching on the corners, I realized pretty quickly that it's likely the same builder. These cabins are each two, you don't see anybody using a sage green to trim a house, or sage green and burgundy or brown or burnt umber, whatever color that is on the big one. But all three of them have real personality. Yes, you can only see two here. Amanda's walking down toward the third one down there to the right. And while we probably won't be able to achieve this exact look on the property, this is the vibe we're going to go for. So how do you merge 1920s architecture and building with eco-friendly? It's going to be a fun challenge, and basically it frees us up to do just about anything in terms of exteriors, and hopefully we'll be able to use lots of textures, but definitely wood products that we've claimed from the property, since we've got a very mature forest that we're going to be cutting the road and the house seats from. Let's go check them out. I'd suspect this last This back section here is an add-on. But what a great location. And I'd love to hear the history or how the family that built these three decided to build two small ones and one big one right in the middle. That one's got some real personality. Check out the rocks they would have pulled out of the river to use for their footers and along the sides of the house. Looks like an addition on the back, but still with really neat personality. Nice windows that have been updated somewhat with storm windows, but still. And then this overhang, I'd guess that's probably a bedroom. What you think, Amanda? I think this is the first time we've ever spent any time really looking at these cabins.
We pass by them all the time, but we've never stopped to look at them. We admire them from the car.
Check out the clearance here. People were probably a little shorter back then, but why do an 8 or 9 foot porch when you can do a 6.5 foot porch, right? So there's an example of trying to get rocks that are nearly exactly the same shape and size. The perfect river rock chimney.
Somebody was a perfectionist.
Oh yeah. Nice. Well done. Should last another 100 years. So if I can learn just a little bit from each cabin we walk up to, then it's a win, right? What do we get from these 3 cabins? Can't see the one here on the left, but I think the thing Amanda and I were talking about off camera was that why are we afraid of color sometimes? This one's got both that sage green and that burnt umber on the same structure, along with gray stained logs and even roofing shingles instead of shake shingles up there behind the flag. So there's a number of things that'll stick in my head, and maybe we'll use them later. What do you think? Leave us a comment. What do you like about these? What are you picking out that I'm overlooking or that Amanda hasn't even noticed? So what about that clickbait? There's a ghost town in the Smokies. I saw that on a headline or a YouTube video probably 5 or 10 years ago. I'm talking about Elkmont. Some of you, most of you have been to Elkmont. If you haven't, it's fantastic. It's a collection of old homes back before this became a park, where the rich or the moderately rich would come and stay for days, weeks, months. And I met someone who grew up coming here and spending every summer here with his grandparents. So the house we're about to check out here in just a second, you saw Amanda walking down the gravel road, is like contrary to everything you would ever think about a house. And yet it works. So let's go check out some houses in this ghost town. You're supposed to be on this walk with us, so I'm gonna pick you up and take you with us. But the things I immediately noticed right away, and we'll get a closer look at, is board and batten, lap siding, but pink and green. And it may be, who knows what the colors are doing with a video, but in person, it's funny how well it works. There's lattice by the front door. There's stone and river rock. The center of the cabin is log. And I don't know, it's just one of those strange things. So if you get a chance and there's not an event being held at Spence Cabin in Elkmont, it's worth a little tour. Let's go check it out. Pretty nifty little cabin. Spence is the name of it. Yeah, lattice. Don't see that very often. You don't see a lot of breaks in roofs either. I don't know if this cabin was intentionally built this way or if it was a series of add-ons with a massive stone fireplace, chimney on the outside, logs in the center, true shutters here. And how often do you see a home that has lap stone, lap siding, and an immediate transition to board and batten? And of course they carry that theme all the way around the right side of the house.
The way they carry the stone from the chimney over to the front door is really cool.
This section of homes was called Millionaire's Row, and it was the elite that owned these homes. And of course, the elite had river frontage. And I remember as a kid, there was a great swimming hole downstream that I thoroughly enjoyed.
I want a patio just like this.
Let's do that. May not be a stream like this, but we could do a patio like this. First was Millionaire's Row and now Daisy Town. This part of Elkmont was the more modestly comfortable folks. And as you can see behind me, there's a whole row of houses here. I don't know how many houses there were total in Elkmont, but I would say several dozen at the very least. And some of these have been restored and others are in the process of being restored. But we're gonna see if we can pick something out from each one of them that we can learn from. It was pretty common worldwide for staining and then painting logs as they started to deteriorate, as they started to show their age. This one, I'm hoping it was taken from photos from years ago. Sided white log tips, and I don't know what color you call the logs, but the logs transitioned to shingle siding, wainscoting type railing. The next one's been restored to its original blue with white trim. Code now would require balusters every 4 inches. Times have changed. This is Amanda's little favorite, right here behind us. Let's see how small this thing is. Yeah.
We have many pictures of this place with the kids.
Oh yeah, kids just go bananas over this little house. I hadn't even thought about that for the property, Amanda. Our playground needs to be something cute and festive like this. Simple little cabin. Looks like they've replaced some of the logs here on the corners. So these are some houses I have not previously checked out. Amanda immediately picked out the red on these windows. That's a nice bright red, isn't it? And it's a cute little house behind it. I'd love to know the age of this log cabin, and the girth on those is probably 18 to 20 inches. And some of those slabs, maybe chestnut, maybe poplar, who knows? So this house is somewhere between burgundy and brick red, but with white trim. What do you think of the white trim, Amanda?
I like it. I really like the white trim. It brightens it up. Looks good. Don't you think the white brightens it up?
Yeah, I think so. This is one of the cabins that's being restored, and it's of particular note because the design work I've been doing over the last several weeks includes this. I had not seen this, but I decided to include it in a few of the houses that I designed. This is an example of how different one house might be to the very next house, which is pretty typical, and the next house that's pretty typical. And of course, as I pan around, you can see all of these cabins are different colors, different shapes, with different styles. Like the little awning along the bottom side of this one that's being restored. Amanda noticed just a moment ago she loves the green of this cabin over my left shoulder. Should be right. I don't know. So I think we will probably come back up here when it's time to paint exteriors and interiors and take a closer look. Maybe even bring a, what do you call those swatchy things that are in a roll? Well, neat design. They used a little bit of, looks like cherry, to trim out the front porch. So I'm recording Amanda again because I love the sound that's coming next.
Nice screen door.
Oh yeah, I love the sound of a good screen door. This one isn't nearly as loud as the two we've got on our cabin. As we close today, we were driving by and Amanda suggested we stop here at the park headquarters building. My great-grandfather was one of the designers of this building, and it is magnificent. It's not particularly fancy, but it's got some really nice personality. So, what did we learn today? I think we learned that back in the 20s and 30s, 40s, and even the 50s, houses were smaller, rooms were smaller, and homes were built as efficiently as they could at the time. And yes, they were quirky, or at least the ones up here were quirky, and yet they all had a special little personality about them. So, how do we take that and put that in our property? We talked with two couples while we were up there, and I enjoy talking with people from out of town and just to hear what they think. And one of those couples said they'd love to find a community where they could stay that was similar to Elkmont. So maybe we can do Elkmont on the mountain. We'll see. Thank you for joining me again. And I know Amanda is excited to share more with you, and I am as well. Take care.